And we are live. Welcome back to Poke S&P. Happy New Year to everyone that's listening. I hope you were able to spend some quality time with family, friends, or people who matter most to you. My name is Lee. I go by PokeSun, and I will be hosting today's episode along with my co-host, Jesse. Jesse, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good, good.
Yeah.
Now, as we step into 2026, it really feels like the Pokemon hobby is entering a new chapter, I would say,
hmm
with a renewed sense of energy, confidence, and momentum more than ever. I think we're seeing signs of that everywhere. Demand for Pokemon products is still incredibly strong, which is why the Pokemon Company continues to expand its printing capacity just to keep up. And at the same time, we're seeing a major shift across the hobby from big moves in the grading space, like PSA's parent company acquiring Beckett, to renew interest in vintage cards hitting all time highs. Um, we are also seeing more collectors care about trust, credibility, and doing things the right way. This is still an unregulated hobby, and that means we all play a role in keeping each other accountable respectfully.
hmm
Um, all of this points to one thing: the Pokemon hobby is growing, evolving, and maturing, and we are witnessing an incredible phase in the history of this franchise. So, right now feels like the perfect time to look back at how far the hobby has come, appreciate the people who helped build it, and understand how we got here. So, we can see where the hobby is headed next. And that brings us to the next biggest conversation happening right now, the TCG Hall of Fame.
hmm
Jesse, um, is this the first ever Hall of Fame initiative in the Pokemon hobby?
I think
To
so. I think, well, I talked about it in my um, story post and in our content before, but and multiple interviews now. It's so important for us to recognize the people that built our community and hobby in the TCG space, and sometimes it hurts me to really see how the sports card collectors pretty much get all of the shine, and the only other PSA. The only other Hall of Fame in the card space is the PSA Hall of Fame, and I think Zach is the only Hall of Famer that represents the Pokemon hobby in that space. So that's kind of like how we got started and really started brainstorming what we can do to recognize the people, not only the biggest collectors like value wise, because all of these guys has a tremendous collection, but there are a lot of people that came in the last 3 to 4 years with perhaps just the same amount of value, if not more, than some of the Hall of Famers you see in our class of 2026, which we hold very dearly because it's an inaugural Hall of Fame. But it's people got selected here because of the impact that they've made in the community, whether it's through their content over the years, obviously their accomplishments in collectibles, but also being here for the longevity part really matters a lot too, because Pokemon or TCG wasn't the talk of the town in 2013 or 2012 when a lot of these guys were collecting, and I love what SM Pratt talked about in his newest video in his Patreon. Shout out to him. He said it's basically we're basically picking people that took um, gotta catch them all, or want to be the very best way to,
yeah,
literally,
yeah.
and that's what this is all about. And as you can see from the people that we've announced so far, and that we are going to announce in the future, it consists of a lot of the guys that pretty much made the hobby where it is today, including guys like Gary King Pokemon, which we will talk about in detail in a little bit. Rusty TCA Gaming, um, Dubsy, who is the person that sold the PSA 10 Illustrator to Logan Paul, and also is a big Magic the Gathering collector, is a big collector in the comic book space, in Yu-Gi-Oh, and a lot of different things for a very long time. And Adam Ty, a lot of people don't really know who he is because he's not a very public figure, but he is perhaps the biggest Magic the Gathering collector in the world. From my understanding, he graded 4 of the 5 existing Alpha Black Lotuses in PSA 10, the only Beckett pristine 10 Alpha Black Lotus in the world. The one of the 3, oh no, 2 of the 3 CGC pristine 10 Alpha Black Lotuses. And also the highest graded Alpha Power 9 set in history. And I believe he owns like pretty much 50% of the Beckett 9.5 quad plus population in Alpha Black Lotus space.
Wow.
So we call it the Black Lotus King.
Yeah,
These
definitely.
things are multi 7 figures, like 7 figures, multi 7 figures per card, right? And he started collecting them long before they were super expensive. He's known to put together some of the craziest and like deals in the last few years through his platform and brand Pristine Collectibles. But he is also a true collector that has literally the greatest Magic the Gathering cards. And that's one of the things through building the TCG Hall of Fame that I learned, because I literally had no idea in terms of anything that's outside of Pokemon before this, because Pokemon was my childhood. So I like heard of the Alpha, like the Power 9, like the Alpha Lotus. I knew they were expensive cards, but I didn't really dive into the history until we started building this, because TCG is beyond Pokemon cards, even though I think 95% of the volume in terms of the grading companies for TCG is Pokemon, but Magic the Gathering came before Pokemon, and it was the TCG that Pokemon was based upon, right? So we do have representation for MTG, and the TCG Museum, we're going to have a crazy display where the Beckett Pristine 10 Alpha Black Lotus, like we announced, is going to be there. A CGC Pristine 10 Alpha Black Lotus, a PSA 10, so 3 of the highest graded copies in the 3 grading companies. Unfortunately, there is no tag 10s, but those cards are going to be there. But most importantly, and the most excited part of this whole thing for me is the original art from Christopher Rush. The original Black Lotus art will be displayed at the TCG Museum as well. And that is just so exciting to me, because I didn't know like these things exist before this, right? So I dived into the history. And oh, by the way, I don't think we really spoke about the TCG Museum yet. So the Collectopia is the event that's hosting the TCG Hall of Fame and the World Record TCG Museum. Collectopia is a celebration. It's hosted in Vancouver, Canada, on February 7th to 8th in 2026. And the TCG Hall of Fame was recognizing the greatest TCG collectors in the world, and the TCG Museum is the greatest display of TCG in history. Right now, the value is anywhere between like 60 million to 100 million. Now, all of the things that we're going to display. Most likely, we're going to have 10 Alpha Black Lotuses and 10 illustrators displayed. Perhaps more than that right now that we're looking at, but there's extends much beyond that. The Alpha Power 9 set, the trophy sets, first edition Charizards. Rusty's bringing his uncut sheets, first edition base uncut sheets, 2 of them, a thin stamp and a thick stamp. So the TCG Museum is a very exciting part of like what I want to see come to life. And it is also very nerve-wracking for us, because obviously to be responsible of such a important part of TCG history and the value that's associated is very, very scary thing. But I just can't wait for the community to see it. And we have obviously a guy like Steve Aoki who really moved the needle in terms of bringing TCG to the mainstream. He's one of the celebrities from the very beginning that really genuinely loves the TCG hobby. And when I say like when he loves it, it's not just the expensive cards. Like he loves his PSA 10 Gold Star set. He loves his illustrator. He loves his Alpha Black Lotus. But from experience of us just streaming with him and opening booster packs, he would literally be looking at like the most random like common card from XY Evolutions or something. He's like, "Oh, I love this card. I'm gonna or sign this card
That's
and gonna
awesome.
trade it because I love this art." So this is a guy that genuinely appreciates the hobby outside
Yeah.
of his insane valuable grails. He actually just purchased a PSA 10 Auto 10 Christopher Rush signed Alpha Black Lotus. I don't know if you
Wow.
saw it on his platform, but
It's incredible.
yeah, it's honestly he's a guy that brought it to the mainstream, like to his millions of followers across the world, but also genuinely loves the game, and that's why we included someone like him. And like we mentioned privately, it is not an easy process to come up with this list of collectors, and
Yeah.
it's still not completely finalized.
Right.
But the reason why we chose the people that we chose today, and like I said, I left out a lot of people. Many of them are pretty close to me, and I've had people reach out to me multiple times and said, "Hey, like I think I deserve to be on here." And we had to turn them down because we're trying to be as unbiased as possible, along with Collector, to select the class of 2026 that perfectly represents our hobby.
Yeah.
Um, and the criteria, like I said, is not just based on your collection value, but based on your community impact as well, and based on like the accomplishments of your TCG collection. And you do have added points if you have more than just one TCG. I understand Pokemon is the
Mm.
majority of it, but if you extend beyond Pokemon and have a big Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh collection, and for example, one of the guys that we're going to announce, Eric Olofsson, he's one of the biggest Magic collectors in the world. He's actually one of the co-founders of Path of Exile, the really popular game. And he's one of the biggest Magic the Gathering collectors in the world, but he also started his own TCG called Sorcery. So these are guys that really made an impact in multiple like disciplines and TCGs in our hobby. And
That's incredible. I've
yeah,
heard of Sorcery too. I didn't know.
and
I didn't know he was the creator. That's
he's
awesome.
the creator, and he's actually the owner of the BGS Pristine 10 Alpha Black Lotus, along with the original art, original
Crazy.
Black Lotus art by Christopher Rush. Like, how cool is that? This is like modern day, like Picasso or like
Yeah.
Da Vinci or
Yeah.
something. As close as we can get to that in terms of like
So
an
cool.
artwork that is significant. Like, that is just so cool, right? And I feel
Insane.
like that little kid from back in the day, like seeing these things for the first time, and it's just blowing my
Yeah.
mind. I can't wait to share this with our community, right? It's just like people like that, people like Zach, Jen, and Pokemon that we're about to announce as well. That was here the whole time, collected the PSA 10 master set for the WotC Hollows. Like, to me, like the most insane collection accomplishment in all of Pokemon, I think, because it's just such an extensive list and so many pop ones and pop twos, right? These are the people that made our hobby what it is today, and the criteria is not based on just value, because there are people that
Right.
came into the hobby in the last 2 to 3 years that are tremendously successful, and I have tremendous
Yeah.
amount of respect for. In the last few years, they acquired like a multi 8-figure collection. There's like multiple people like that we had to leave out of the first Hall of Fame ceremony. The class of 2026 is really hard, and so I can say like some of them are upset because of
Mm.
our explanation of what we want the first one to be. The selection process is pretty straightforward. We do have our own committee, and we're going to announce, and it's with Collector as well. And in the following class of 27, 28, 29, we will have a selection process that involves the public as well, right? So we're going to
Oh,
have the public nominate people. We're going to induct,
that's so
I think, 2
interesting.
people every year, but it's not just going to be a popularity contest. We'll have like the 10 nominees nominated by the public. We'll have a vote, and then we'll have an internal vote with our current Hall of Famers and Collector and our original committee to decide who comes in. And I do believe a lot of the people that I mentioned that came in the last 2-3 years that are already making a huge impact, they will be shoo-ins for the 27, 28, 29, 30 class. But for the class of 2026, we do want to stick with the people that have been here longer. You know, people with a couple more gray hairs.
Right, like
People,
Brad and
yeah,
Gary.
exactly. And the people that have been here before the 2016, 2020 hype, and was building up the community and catching them all before it was cool, you know, but when it was kind of like a niche nerdy thing that we all did. But these guys just took it way too literally, and like SM Pratt said, this is just a way for us to get these older guys. Well, I don't want to say all of them are old. Like some of them are. I mean, they're not like old, but I mean, just give these guys their flowers and celebrate them, and getting them the celebration that they deserve, and just their legacy needs to be recognized. And I just can't wait to see how happy they are and how the community appreciate them. A lot of them are bringing their family, like their wives and kids and
awesome.
parents. So I just can't wait to do that. I actually did something similar for the real estate community like 5 or 6 years ago. Kind of like the Oscars for real estate. And it's kind of like a similar thing, and you know, I love doing it. And this time around, it's our TCG community, and I just can't wait to see this come to life.
Yeah, those guys, the class of 2026, they've made decades of lasting impact and shaped the hobby into what it is today. So I'm very glad that there's some type of recognition and a ceremony to recognize all that. So I see that Zach Gement is blurred out, so he's going to be the next one. And one of the questions was, are you going to have 10 new inductees for every show? So is it going to be like a brand new cast or brand new inductees next year?
So that's not fully decided yet, but I don't think we're gonna have 10 new inductees every year. The reason why the first one is 10, it might be 8 to 10. Like we haven't decided on the final couple yet. We have to discuss with the committee, but we're not gonna have 10. We're probably gonna have 2 to 3 every year because it doesn't make sense to add that many people every year. The first year being a lot more is because this is the first one. We want to recognize all the people from early on. And a lot of these guys are legends, right? So I would say at most 4, but definitely not 10. But I'm thinking like some along the lines of 2 to 4 moving forward. But we will have like 10 nominees by the public every year. So we're gonna involve a lot of the public in terms of the selection process. But it's not just gonna be a pure popularity contest because I think it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than having Instagram followers and things like that.
Yeah, that is totally fair.
Yeah.
Your average player says this will be massive. That's huge. I think a lot of people are very excited, and I can't wait either to see the TCG Museum with all those pieces that you were talking about earlier, the Alpha Lotus, and also Rusty's uncut sheets.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, I don't even know how he's going to bring all of that with him, but
that's what I'm nervous about too, because when you print the uncut sheet, it will have to be like rolled up because he said if it comes in the acrylic that is being displayed, if the acrylic cracks, that will damage the sheet. So we'll have to take in the acrylics and the sheet separately. And it's going to be such a great piece to witness because that's part of Pokemon history. And one of the things that I learned from that is that the thick stamp, there's a first edition base thick stamp sheet and a first edition base thin stamp sheet, right? So this is a way for us to really like kind of settle this once and for all, even though it's not like a completely undisputed evidence that one came before the other. But the thick stamp was dated 1998. So that's what I learned from him, which is really interesting. That means, well, I mean, it came before the other one, which is 1999. So most likely the thick stamp did come before thin stamp. Even though there's like rumors of the other way around. So it's really cool to see, and how cool it is to see a sheet with like 5 or 6 first edition basic Charizard just on there, right? Just I can't, I can't wait to see it. It's such an I feel like a kid in the candy store again, and I
Yeah.
was talking to CJ about it, and I was like, hey, I really miss the days of like 2018, 19 when we first got back into the hobby, where I would be buying cards for like $50 on eBay and like $100 or $200, and I would just like sit around waiting for the package to arrive. I was like so excited. I was like, oh, I bought this PSA 9 Suicune or this random PSA 10 Suicune. And I'm like, I can't wait to receive my $120 package. I was just so excited when I first got back into it during those days. And every time I received something, it meant so much to me. And I would just look at it every day. And obviously, over the years, you kind of get desensitized when you're exposed to so many crazy cards.
Yeah.
And I really miss that feeling, and seeing these crazy items and collectibles coming into our museum make me feel like that kid again, even though the most of them are not mine, right?
Right.
Oh my god, I just can't wait to see the Rusty Sheets. I can't wait to see the Black Lotus original art. It's just I just feel like a little kid back in the day.
Yeah, same. So are all the inductees bringing one of their prize pieces into the TCG museum for display, or is it just a select few that are bringing
I
something?
think most of them are, not everybody, because some of them do have concerns over the border. So that might be
Oh,
something
yeah.
that's tough. Like I know Steve is traveling from place to place, so it's not like he can bring his cards to every city. Like he'll be somewhere else. He wouldn't be home before he flies here. So I know like Steve might not be able to bring it. I know Gary has his entire collection basically in a vault that's secured and insured. So he's going to
Mm,
try and do it, but I'm not sure he's able to. There are 2 members out of the 10 that won't be able to make it due to family obligations. So they wouldn't have theirs, but I would say the majority of our inductees are coming with their collection. And there are a lot of people that are bringing things to display that are not part of the Hall of Fame as well. The Hall of the museum is kind of just like a display of the biggest pieces, and a lot of them are being contributed by members of the community that haven't made the Hall of Fame so far, but well on their way.
yeah. Well, I'm really excited.
Yeah,
I wonder. I hope to see Gary bring some of his first edition basic Charizards
yeah.
to the
And
Hall of Fame.
honestly, I want to talk about him a little bit. You and I have
Mm,
spoken about it, and Rusty has made a video about it. So I kind of
right.
want to
Yeah, I
like talk
remember.
about this on our platform because Gary means a lot to me and to you as well. And we've met him many years ago, and he, uh, I would say it's really easy to be nice to the people that have a lot of influence that are already well known, that are in a position of power, but Gary is the type of person that welcomed CJ. Well, at the time, I didn't have a Pokemon account, so nobody actually knew who I was. But CJ started live streaming and just creating Pokemon content in 2020. And this was before anyone knew who I was or who she was. This is maybe right when she started her shop or right before that. I think right after, actually. But nobody knew who she was. And people started commenting on her live streams basically saying she's like an influencer that didn't care about Pokemon cards, commented on her appearance, calling her all kinds of misogynistic names. And I think she only had like 3,000 followers at the time. So a tiny account. And Gary is one of the first people to come out and say, hey, like, leave this girl alone. I love how she opens packs. I can see her genuine excitement when she pulls a hit. Like he basically loved CJ because CJ got super excited when she pulled Charizards,
Yeah.
and he didn't have to do that. And he invited us to the Pokemon Saves the World charity event that he hosted with Steve Aoki in 2021, and
Yeah.
that's how we were able to meet. Like Poke-san and CJ and I met at that event, and we met all the friends in the community, like Zach, Jem,
Mhm.
and Pokemon, and all of these guys, like and even Dubsy, like we met Dubsy at that event too. That was before he was Dubsy. And yeah, it was just, he showed us kindness when he didn't need to. He didn't know I was like pretty successful in my previous businesses. He didn't know that, CJ was going to be a big collector, or we had a big collection. He just
Yeah.
simply liked this girl opening packs online and loved the way that she was reacting to the openings, and basically went into her comments and told the haters to kick rocks. And we'll never forget that. And that's something that I will never be able to repay, because without his kindness, CJ and I
Mhm.
probably wouldn't be in this hobby. And not to be cocky or anything, but I have an opportunity cost of being here, spending so much time. And like, I have options basically, and I fell in love with Pokemon cards as a kid. I could have very well just left it as a pure hobby over the years and just collected and minded my own business, but I'm so deeply into this hobby because I love it, because of people like Gary, because of people that have made all the impact in the world long before he met us, and showed us so much kindness before we were anybody's, when we were nobodies in the space.
Yeah.
And I heard so many stories of him doing the same thing for other people. So it really hurts me to see people basically from one clip of an opening from 6 years ago create this false narrative that he's a pack destroyer and destroyed cards to keep his population low. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but Gary really doesn't care about the population of base set unlimited Charizards. I guarantee you. And Rusty already made a video about how everybody from that live opening was happy and none of the cards were damaged. They were getting
Yeah.
nines and tens, right?
Exactly.
And was it a rough opening? Absolutely it was. And that's what Gary admitted to as well. He said, yeah, like, I had a rough day. He's a 72-year-old man, right? They have rough days every once in a while. But to say that he is evil and purposely damage all the cards that he was
Yeah,
opening,
that's way too much.
that is just ridiculous. And people are just giving him personal attacks. And Pokey-san and I, and all of us, we don't gain anything from defending him, right? Like, we have no financial ties to Gary whatsoever. We are just Pokemon fans that have experienced his kindness, and we are all experiencing what he's built, because he's the guy that kind of like stayed with Pokemon from the beginning, helped bring Pokemon into the United States, helped get PSA to start grading Pokemon cards and recognizing Pokemon cards
Yeah.
as a legitimate collectible. And he is part of every big event in Pokemon history. So I really want to come on here and just tell our side of the story, our experience with him, and really like contribute to really shooting down this false narrative. A lot of the people that talk about it, one of the videos labeled him as rip and shipper. That is just the most
What?
ridiculous thing I've seen in my life. Yeah, if you think
I
of
don't think I've seen
Gary
that.
from Pokemon, there's a YouTube short that literally says Gary, the rip and shipper Gary, destroys packs, destroys Pokemon cards to keep the population low.
Wow. That's
Right?
crazy. The amount of accusations and assumptions are really ridiculous. Gary has been part of the Pokemon hobby for decades, like long before grading was popular.
Yeah.
And long before YouTube made this space to what it is today. I mean, he's not just a content creator, he's also an educator, a historian, and like really a bridge into the hobby. So that base set booster box opening didn't go perfectly, but we should not be suddenly judging an imperfect moment and his entire life contribution is not defined by that one moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I wouldn't want to be judged based on my worst day either. It's perfectly fine to criticize the way he opened that box, but to say to throw dirt on his integrity and say that he destroyed that box on purpose because he wanted to keep the population low is straight out blasphemous. Like, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like, that was before the Pokemon Save the World event. If he was trying to destroy every pack that can potentially contain like a base that Charizard was a limited shadowless and first edition base, he would be doing that in every opening, right? He was perfectly fine with the Pokemon Saves the World openings. That nobody talked about that, right? Why wouldn't he be destroying the first edition packs, right? This is just absolutely ridiculous. Gary couldn't care less. He is actually the type of person that supports all of the young creators and all of the people that came into the hobby because he knows that this is what keeps the hobby going, having new people come in and having he never went online and blasted anybody else.
No.
The one thing that hurts me about this whole situation is because Gary lost access to his account. Like he had a pretty large account, around 50,000 followers, real King Pokemon, and he lost access to it about like 6 to 12 months ago. And the wave of content came about like 5 months ago. So this is a 6-year-old clip that went super viral in the last 6 months. And this just happens to be around the time that Gary lost access to his account. So he can't even speak up and defend himself. So it is my responsibility to do that. And not to my personal gain, but because I want to clear the name of a legend that helped bring our community to where it is today. Is he perfect? No, but none of us are perfect. We've all made mistakes in the past, right? We're not here to say Gary is perfect. He is not. He made mistakes just like me, just like whoever is watching this, right? Like we all made so many mistakes, but he is a legend that made such an impact on a lot of the Hall of Famers. We have a Hall of Fame interview with every single one that's inducted in here. And guess what? One of the questions is, who is the collector that inspired you on your journey? What is the one name that came up the most? It is Gary Haas, Gary King Pokemon. He came up in almost everybody's conversation, including guys like Steve Aoki, Gemmin Pokemon, and even Rusty. Like, these are your goats, right?
And me as well. He really inspired me.
So I also like this whole situation. I'm not going to mention any names, but the fact that he's made an impact on so many people's lives, but only so few people spoke up for him and against these allegations kind of show me people's true colors. I have to say this. It's really disappointing to me, and it showed some people became I gained respect and lost respect for a lot of people. I gained respect for people like Rusty because he used his
100%.
platform to clear Gary's name. Again, this is not to his own benefit, right? He is like some people might say, like, oh, this is a contemporary on the same class of 2026. But Gary and him are both legends in my book. And a lot of people are actually in Gary's videos or posting, oh, I think Rusty is a GOAT, not him. Rusty came out and said, I would gladly give up my spot in the Hall of Fame for him. If there was one person in the Hall of Fame, it should be Gary. And that's where I think as well. If we only had one spot, it would be Gary Haas, Gary King Pokemon. And there is no doubt in my mind. And if you ask anybody in the hall with him, they will all say the same thing, right? So for the people that I've reached out to, I was like, hey, I'm speaking up about this, but, my voice and Rusty's voice is, it's only so many voices, so many things that we can do. Can you speak up about your experiences with him and how he inspired you? And there's some people that straight up said, oh, I don't want to be part of the drama. I don't want to take sides. I'm going to be straight up and say I lost respect for those people. It's mind blowing to me how many people are trying to protect their own interests. If you have a different opinion, I totally understand. But these are the people that told me how much Gary impacted their careers and lives. But you're coming out and saying, well, I stay away from drama. So even though this person that inspired me and helped me so much throughout my collection journey is having his name dragged through the mud, I'm not going to speak up for what's right. Man, I do lose respect for you, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Right. Yeah, we really do need to speak up when it counts. And this is one of the instance where we need to really speak up and defend Gary, because he has brought us so much joy with this hobby. And again, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him and his impact. decades of contributions. He's such a kind gentleman, and have shown me nothing but kindness. And he is really supportive content creators, female content creators, and I think he's a big advocate for things like autism events that he runs charity for. He does a lot of other things, not just the hobby, but also a lot of other things that shows that he has a very, um, kind and respectful side towards all humans.
Yeah, that's right. So before you jump to conclusions based on one clip and the comments, the echo chamber in the comments, take the time to actually meet Gary in person. He's in a lot of Collecticons. He's coming to Collectopia, so you can come and meet him at Collectopia in Vancouver, February 7th to 8th, and actually talk to the people that have been in this hobby for more than 3, 4, 5 years. People that have come in contact with him will almost always tell you that how great of a person he is, and how he's a kind soul. And obviously, he's had disagreements with people online as well. And there's people that are going to say, "Yeah, I don't like this guy," just like any of us. Like all of us have people that we've clashed with. But overall, you can't deny the contributions he's made to our community, and he
Yeah.
is really, in my opinion, the godfather of Pokemon cards,
Yeah.
for English Pokemon cards at least, right? So yeah, I don't want to go too much in detail with the
Yeah.
controversy situation, but Gary has my support. He will always have my support because of what he's done for not just me, my family, but for this community and this hobby that I absolutely love since I was a kid. Like in 1999, like we all started as kids that grew up in that generation, and
Yeah.
the reason why we're able to enjoy shiny cardboard as adults, Gary's a big part of that. If it wasn't for him, maybe we wouldn't come back into the hobby. Most of us left for a decade
Right.
or two, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I really just wanted to come up here and defend Gary, and use our platform, our voice, and
Yes, definitely. I'm so glad that we're speaking up, and I hope others continue to follow that type of example.
yeah,
So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about one of the biggest news we've seen in the hobby. PSA's parent company, Collectors, recently announced acquisition of Beckett. So Collector already owns PSA, which is the largest grading company in the world.
Mhm.
They also acquired SGC in the past, which also has some meaningful volume, but in sports grading volume. And now with Beckett under the same umbrella, you're looking at three of the most recognizable grading brands controlled by a single parent company.
Yeah, that's pretty well. I
The
would have
concern,
go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say this is some of the concerns that collectors have is this is where the monopoly discussion comes in. What are your thoughts about this? Whether is it a monopoly? Is it not a monopoly? What are your thoughts?
I have to say this because I am a well-known member and of the board of another well-known grading company, Tag. So whatever I say right now does not represent the company; it represents myself. And I'm more than just an investor and board member of Tag Grading, and because I am a collector first, and I'm also invested in a lot of companies. So what
Yeah,
I say does not represent Tag. It just represents me, my opinion. And one of the things that I've been saying for a while is when we talk about the grading companies before Tag, right? Like it was the big three, and it's PSA, CGC, and Beckett. But if you look at the grading volume, there really never was a big three. It's always just been the big one.
you're right.
PSA has about like 75% of the market share before they acquired Beckett and SGC, right? So obviously acquiring Beckett and SGC uh, added to uh, their dominance in the market. But if you looked at it from a vacuum, like this company had over 70% of the market before they did any other acquisition and controversial like antitrust, anti-monopoly moves. So does it really change in terms of the market share? It doesn't. It doesn't really move the needle because they're the big one for the last 10 years, right? But it is significant because a lot of people that just look at it from the number standpoint and they're like, hey, oh, nothing really happened because they just acquired a company that had 3% of the market share, right? Well, it's not as simple as that because the consumers, the collectors, have less of an option to submit to a company that is not in the collector's universe, so it took away some options for people that wanted to submit to Beckett because they didn't agree with like what PSA standards are or like what they're doing. And when you move back and look at the hobby as a whole, and this is actually something that one of my friends brought up as really successful in the space in China, actually, is there's three triangles of the collectibles or the card market. And most of the companies fall into one of these triangles. And for the most part, these triangles, like different points of the triangle, didn't really touch, which is why it was healthy and it was the right way to do it. And that's the distribution side, which is like Pokemon and Bandai and Konami, like all these companies. And then you have the other side, which is the grading companies, which is the PSA, BGS, CGC, and TAG, all these companies. And then you have the other triangle being like the marketplace, like eBay or Golden or all of these companies. That's the marketplace side. So for the most part, these three sides of the market didn't really touch. They were separate.
Right.
But PSA now, our collector, is attempting to corner the market and do all three things. Like the power packs is technically distribution. The marketplace, they're buying and selling their own cards on eBay, even though they don't have their own marketplace yet, but they're selling and buying and selling their own cards. And that comes with the controversy of buying people's nines and turning them into tens, whether you buy that explanation or not, that's solely on you, but they're actually still doing that. And also, obviously, they dominated the grading market for such a long time. So is that a problem? I think it would potentially be a problem moving up into 2026 and 27 because it gives them so much power that no transparency needed. And they're able to basically set their own market and set their own prices and do whatever they want. It is almost like an infinite money glitch when they're able to just buy the cards at grade, change a grade if they want. They have there's no transparency. They can do whatever they want to sell it on their own platforms, dictate what they buy it back for again, and then sell it again on the power packs and mystery packs. So, don't fault them as a company to try and do it, but would it be great for the community? It's again, it's like a double-edged sword. It makes the experience for PSA fans a lot easier when you can grade, vault, and sell like easily without shipping it back and whatever. But it does cause a lot of harm and concerns in the community moving forward. And that is not. I'm not talking in the standpoint of being a part of TAG. It's actually good for TAG, if you know what I mean, because there's a lot of people that are moving out of the PSA ecosystem and wanting to grade with companies like TAG or even CGC for that matter. To me, I think it's very complicated. You have to judge for yourself, but I do think something needs to change because if they're able to get away with basically doing everything, there is like no way to what they can do.
Yeah. I mean, they have like already a deep ecosystem ties to major marketplace like eBay, GameStop with the digital mystery packs and everything. So they're all just starting to concentrate together, and it just makes the smaller competitors, I don't know, I feel like the smaller competitors, it's going to be hard for them to compete with such a big giant powerhouse.
Yeah, I think so, but it also extends beyond like what happens to the other grading companies is really just like what happens to collectors. And the other scary thing is because they're able to set the buy prices and then be able to sell them basically on their own terms. Like they also own the card ladder app, which
Right.
is
Yeah.
the app that determines what the market price is. For example, that Gengar that was acquired through the platform for 30,000 USD, I think, which is like really, really high. Like I think that price is like higher than most of the private sales was going around going around that time. But they were able to do that because they control the market and the price that they're selling it at in their gem packs, because they can just add 15 or 20% to that, work the math and be literally 100% safe from potentially losing money on all of their offers. And they can drive up or down the prices of any cards they want, depending on whether or not they're trying to buy them or trying to sell them. Right. So that's really scary to me. And mystery products is not like a bad thing. Because I think as long as you do it the right way. Like CJ has mystery products, but we put in the stuff that we want as collectors, have absolute transparency so people see the value, the expected value, the floor, the ceiling, and every card that's involved in the product. But it is a scary thing when you can control the buy and sell in every part of the market. Like I said, if you just were one of these companies, if you're just making mystery boxes, repacks, or you were just grading cards, or if you were just buying and selling cards, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be a problem. But because PSA does all of these things,
Got
that's the concern that we should have as collectors. But I'm not saying everything is negative in terms of PSA acquiring Beckett. I actually think it's a good move for Beckett, because Beckett has been kind of staying stagnant for the last 5 to 10 years. And
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
any leadership is better than current or acquisition current Beckett leadership, because if you search up some articles online, the previous owner got $100 million loan against the company, and then spent $99 million on his yacht and spent $500,000 on the company. And this is why Beckett doesn't even have scans of the cards on their pop report
That's absolutely ridiculous. No scans for BGS whatsoever. That I don't know how we're in 2026 now and there's no scans of a card.
Exactly. And the pop report is so bad. There's so many cards with like 7 or 8 different entries. So trying to figure out the Beckett pop is so hard, because you got to add up all these other entries. Like my Shiny Legends campaign, Suicune, has 2 different entries. And I was trying to figure out if 9.5 that was on their pop report was a pop 1. And then I found another report with like a little slight change in the name that has like another 1. So there's actually pop 2, but it says pop 1 on there. So I personally think collectors acquiring Beckett is good for Beckett and the Beckett collectors, because collectors will definitely put more money into it. From my understanding, they're not going to sunset Beckett like they did with SGC, because Beckett still holds a lot of weight in our community. Whether the volume is low, there's still a lot of sports card collectors and a lot of Magic the Gathering collectors that prefer Beckett over PSA and any other grading company. And the Black Label is still there as like the only known like highest grade, and there really isn't an alternative to it other than Tag Pristine 10s. But it's not there yet. So the Beckett Black Label is still representing of the hardest grade to get. So I still think there's a lot of value in Beckett. And I don't think PSA will buy them just to shut them down, So I personally think PSA's parent company, collectors, acquiring Beckett is good for the company, because now they have the resources to get scans for the cards, to rebuild their website and their pop report, and provide customer service that Beckett was not able to provide pre-acquisition, right? So there's different parts of it. Obviously, there's a part that's like really negative that's been talked about a lot, but I do think there is positives. And I actually personally, selfishly want for a lot of my friends that are collecting Beckett Black Labels, and you're trying to make a decision between like, oh, should I get like the PSA 10 that I know I'm going to get, or trying to get the Beckett Black Label, I might get a 9.5. If they can work something out in their submission system where like if it gets a PSA 10, you can have the option to like automatically review it for Beckett Black Label or Pristine 10. That will make the process more frictionless for collectors that are trying to decide between the two companies, since they're in the same ecosystem, they can do a lot of things to make it more easily accessible for collectors. So I'm just like coming up with ways to make it a positive thing. But I definitely think it is for sure a positive for Beckett as a company, because they weren't doing a good job and they were probably going towards bankruptcy if they kept in their current trajectory before selling to collectors.
That's very true. Yeah. But regardless, I think competition is still healthy. Just because when one grading company gains so much influence, especially over 80% of the grading volume, they have like control over pricing, fee structures. Personally, for me, I don't like the upcharges that PSA does to all the collectors. And I don't know. It remains to be seen, I guess. We'll see what the FTC decides. I know one of the U.S. congressmen, I believe his name is Pat Ryan, formally asked FTC to look into whether this consolidation crosses the line from like healthy, growing competition to anti-competitive behavior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We'll see.
that's interesting. Is that in motion already, or is that still just like a suggestion?
It's just a formal letter, so I don't think an official investigation or anything is preceding that. I just think it's just kind of like talk in the talks.
Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. Because like I said, by the numbers, they were already a monopoly before they acquired SGC and Beckett. But I think they're talking about the practice of acquiring like the rest of your competition, which gives consumers less choice. But I actually think that is less of a problem than being able to buy the cards back, change the grades, and then selling them on the platform. I think that's probably the biggest concern. So yeah,
Yeah.
curious to see what comes with the investigation.
Yeah. I'm very curious as well. But it looks like Tag and also CGC are the remaining competitors on the board here. But
Mhm.
I think competition is just what keeps prices healthy and reasonable.
Yeah, I
So
agree. And in terms of volume, like speaking on behalf of Tag, not speaking on behalf of Tag, but on Tag specifically, is the volume will change once the remote grading pods are out, and that's like what we're trying to do over there is to lower the barrier of entry and kind of lower the friction. If you can walk into a card shop and without having to ship it, wait for 6 months, you can just walk in, put your card in the machine, get it back, all machine graded, get it back within like a day or two. That will change the game completely, and that's what there's a reason why I invested in the company, and that's why I believe in the model that we're going to create and going to disrupt in the market. And yeah, that's I think that will be the major change in otherwise relatively stagnant and similar grading industry for the last 30 years, because most of these other companies have been grading the same way, even though there's slight improvements in different areas. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Just the fact that we can provide collectors an opportunity to grade cards in their backyard and get it back um, within days or even hours, instead of waiting for months and shipping and potentially losing it and having it damaged on the way or stolen.
yeah, I agree. I feel like I hear reports of stolen packages all the time
Yeah,
from PSA to the original submitter. So that would remove a lot of the pain points if you can just grade it on the spot and get the card and go home and enjoy the card.
yeah, for sure. We have Dr. Gap saying, anyone have a Hollow Dark Charizard, Blastoise, Dragonite, or Magneton first edition PSA 10 looking to trade? 5 cards away from a Master Set, Team Rocket. That's actually incredible. Congratulations on your Master Set. That's not an easy set to complete. And damn, I actually had multiple Hollow Dark Charizards and Blastoise in PSA 10 back in the day,
Wow.
because I actually thought Team Rocket was an extremely underrated set because I love the hollow in the back. That was the first time I believe WotC had the Cosmos it's Cosmos, not Galaxy, right? It's a Cosmos
That's more
hollow.
like the swirls. Yeah.
Cosmos hollow in the back, and it just made the cards look so epic, and it just Charizard looking back. I always thought Charizard from Team Rocket was just as cool as base set Charizard. And I remember walking into a card shop in like 2001, and I remember there's the base set Charizard. I think it was first edition that was being sold for $200, and then there's like a Shadowless or Unlimited for like $80, or
What?
$50 or something like
Those
that.
those prices
Yeah,
sound crazy right now.
yeah, and then there was like a Dark Charizard for $25, and I asked my mom, I was like, "I want that one. I want the Dark Charizard. He looks so cool."
No.
And then my mom's like, literally, I think she either like whacked me or something. It's like, you buy it for $25, because she's like, you buy the pack for $2, and there's 10 cards in there, and she thought it was like the most craziest thing that I had the audacity to ask her to buy me a card for $25.
No.
I'll never forget that. So that's why I remember buying that card from back in the day. But I believe I cracked one of them to send to Tag and didn't get a 10. And then I think I sold the other one. So I don't have it anymore. But yeah, for like way too cheap too. I think they're a lot more expensive now. But even that is, it's still, because the population is not as low as some of the other WotC hollows. I believe it's in the 3 figures instead of 2. I think 300 or 400. It is still a very desirable card for a decent price compared to the other WotC Grails, I think.
Yeah, I remember opening up a first edition Team Rocket box about 4 years ago. And one of the interesting thing I learned about that box opening, after opening it, sent some off to grade, or some of the people who got the pack, bought the pack from me, is that Magneton is one of the hardest card to get a 10, PSA 10 in. And that card was almost as expensive as a Dark Charizard at the time. So I thought that was kind of crazy.
It was actually more expensive at one point because the
Was it?
population was much lower. Yeah, I remember the
Crazy.
Magneton being more expensive than Charizard
Can
sometime
you imagine?
2022 or 23, when the Dark Charizard actually tanked in value. It was worth only like 4K or 3K at one point. And the Magneton was like 6 because the population was like a quarter, or like 20%.
Yeah.
And
I
for
thought
those
that
of you that don't understand grading, is because Magneton has a white hollow border. So to human graders, it's a lot easier to spot like scratches and imperfections in the hollows when it's kind of like a lighter background. And that's the reason why the Chansey is so low for base set compared to some of the other cards. And so we're talking about Magneton, and all these like a lot of these normal types are super low. And that's part of the reason why I believe what's the evolution of Flaffy? The one that Zach was looking for until the end. That had like a pop 2.
And Ampharos?
Yeah, Ampharos.
Yeah.
Ampharos is like a pop 2 from Neo. Was it Neo Rev? I think it's Neo Rev.
Neo Rev, I believe.
Yeah.
There's one in Neo Genesis as well.
Yeah. I think it's Neo Rev one. That was the lighter color. So that's why Magneton's so hard, because it's lighter in the background. I believe the Magneton hollow in evolutions is also the lowest pop, and it has a single digit pop in PSA 10. I think pop 4 or something like that. Imagine how many evolutions hollows were graded. That was one of the worst printed sets ever. And if you were to collect the master set, I remember the Magneton is like a pop 4 or 8. It's under 10. It's incredible for master like that.
I feel like as we get deeper into the Pokemon 30th anniversary, I just get a sense that people who stay through the up and downs are much more in selective phase of collecting and investing. Just seeing a lot of interest in older and rare vintage pieces, like compared to like modern cards with extremely high population reports. I think there's just a lot of people that are interested in vintage, especially like the serious high-end collectors.
Yes. A lot of people in the market are talking about how we're going through like a bear market and everything's going down. That's because that was expected. We talked about it for many months. For modern, it's not sustainable and it will go down, especially some of this ultra modern sealed that you're seeing for $300, $400 at release, and also like the really high pop modern chase cards of course they're going down because they have like pretty much unlimited population. But when you're talking about the ultra high end, like first edition base, even Gold Stars had already had its run, but it's still continuing to go up. First edition base set, we're talking about like the no rarity Charizard. No rarity Charizard sold for a record 641,000 USD a few months ago, and privately I heard it sold for over $1 million recently. So you're seeing record-breaking numbers when it comes to vintage low pop grails because collectors are coming in and they want to buy those cards that are not as available and accessible and has history.
Yeah.
It's getting to a point where I think the grails and trophy cards that are not set cards are being undervalued because you're literally first edition base at Charizard, which is obviously an iconic grail. There's 125 PSA 10s, multiple tag 10s, some CGC pristine 10s. That card is readily available in other grades. But you're talking about like some of these other trophy cards with only 10 or 15, 20, 30, 40 copies in existence that are going for less than a gem first edition Charizard and like a Gold Star Rayquaza, a Gold Star Torchic, like these cards. So I really think conditional rarity is being kind of like overvalued at this point, but absolute rarity is being overlooked. So if I were a high-end collector, I'd be looking at some of the cards that have absolute rarity as opposed to like the conditional rarity where you're just chasing like the pristine 10s or the PSA 10s of the really, really, really hard to get grails.
Yeah, it seems like the first edition base set and some of the trophy cards are getting a lot of attention right now, especially when browsing on Instagram, a lot of people are wanting to buy like a Pikachu illustrator now because of the whole Logan Paul illustrator that's worth 5.3, well, technically 5.275 million that he bought from Dubsy, right?
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention Dubsy. For the TCG Hall of Fame, one of the most important things that is going to happen, the most exciting thing, is Dubsy will reveal his face to the public for the first time at Collectopia in the TCG Hall of Fame. He's going to be on stage. He's delivering a speech, and he's going to show people his handsome face for the first time. A lot of people already met him at shows. He's a really private guy, but he is going to reveal who he is on camera for the first time. And I'm so excited because he's such a great person for those of us that have known him. Again, super generous with his time, super nice, and just genuinely so passionate about our hobby. So I can't wait for people to actually know him as who he is. I'm not going to mention his exact name, but he's going to reveal it, and I can't wait. So,
and if I may add, he looks like George Clooney, but like a Dubai version of George Clooney. So,
oh my goodness,
yeah, I heard that. Have to see for yourself.
Yeah, I heard that from Shiv too, and it's pretty incredible to me how I met him like at the Pokemon Saves the World event without knowing that he was Dubsy because he was collecting long before he was Dubsy, but he made up the name Dubsy I think in 22 or something, right?
It's very catchy, yeah.
Yeah, so he's been a high-end collector for a long time across multiple like TCGs and sports cards and even like dinosaur fossil, which is something that I have no idea about. So he's such a cool guy, and I can't wait for the community to actually meet the person behind the name and the biggest transaction in Pokemon history, which is about to be broken, by the way. So we can talk about that a little bit. Great segment into the Logan Paul PSA 10 illustrator situation.
Yeah, so he bought it from Dubsy originally.
That's right.
For 5.275, which included a cash component and a partial trade. I can verify, but this is what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, it was the most expensive Pokemon card ever sold, and it broke Guinness World Record.
Yes.
But after acquiring that card, Logan Paul listed it on Liquid Marketplace, which is a fractional ownership platform he co-founded. Mm-hmm. So you can see in the news article here. And the card was fractionalized at a $5 million valuation. So he said he gave a $250,000 $275,000 discount to the public because he wants the public to own a piece of history. So 51% was sold to the public via tokens, and he kept or retained 49% ownership. And if you read some of the news articles, one by Collect, it said he bought or repurchased back the Pikachu illustrator that he put on Liquid Marketplace for $250,000, apparently, in May of 2024. So it doesn't make sense to me because that's only 5% of the 5 million.
Yeah.
But those funds were intended to be distributed to fractional owners, which, from what we learned, nobody ever got paid out, or at least a lot of people didn't get paid out.
Yeah. So that's actually something that I wasn't aware of until recently. And I always say PokeSun is the #1 source for all of the hobby news, with your commentary as well. Like, you always bring something to light where people are not really paying attention to, or you find sources. You're like a detective, and you find all kinds of like evidence on all kinds of topics, and then you post it on your platform. And that's one of the things that I really respect about you, which is why I want to do this podcast with you, is you're not afraid to speak your mind, even though it's not most of the time not for your like own interest. And that's how I live by as well. It's really about speaking the truth and speaking our mind, standing up for what's right, and looking after the community. And that's what you've been doing for the last five years that I've known you. Right. So I heard about this through you, and the fact that he only paid $250,000 for the ownership, it leads me to a couple of hypotheses or like theories on why he was able to do that. Because you actually just told me before the stream that he was only retaining 49% and sold 51%, and there's the fine print in the terms of service that says you need 80% of the owners to agree through a vote to be able to sell the card, right? So what that leads me to believe is either Logan sold 51%, which is around $2.5 million for the card, and only paid back 10%, or he only sold 5%, in which before the previous scenario is not legal based on their terms of services, because you can't just, as a 49% owner, decide to sell the card for that much, right? But it would make sense if only 5% of the card was acquired through the platform, meaning he only sold 5% ownership. It does make sense for him to only pay back the 5% and be able to pay back the 5% ownership of the card to the people that bought into the fractional ownership. That would make sense to me, because a lot of these platforms are not as successful as you think. I know the owners, or I know like the people behind another fractional ownership platform. I'm actually not going to name names, but I've talked to a lot of them, and they had a lot of VC backing early on through the crypto and NFT craze back in 21, 22, 23, but almost all of them underperformed. There's not as much liquidity as people thought. They underestimated how much collectors loved collecting and actually physically having these collectibles in their hands. It's completely different to sell a Gold Star Rayquaza for $200,000 to one collector, and giving him the ability to look at it every night before he sleeps, and sell maybe the Gold Star Rayquaza is a bad example, as everyone wants that, but the Gold Star Torchic, for example, that card is worth $300,000 to the set collector that's trying to collect the PSA 10 Master Set, but to 100 or 1,000 people that are buying into this card, you would only sell it at a market cap of $10,000, right? Because those guys are not set collectors. Those guys are buying in for the appreciation of the card, which is only tied to the market. And there isn't a demand for fractional ownership of physical collectibles like trading cards. There just isn't. So it wouldn't surprise me if only 5% of the Pikachu Illustrator card was sold to the public because of a lack of demand, right? So
Yeah, that's a really good point.
that is my theory, and that is the only way that I can see how Logan was able to legally, under the terms and conditions, purchase the card back. And if that's the case, you should just talk about it. Be like, hey, yeah, I know it's like kind of embarrassing to say, oh, my influence wasn't as great as I thought it was, and the card only sold out 5%, not the anticipated 51%. But
Yeah.
saying that would clear out a lot of the confusion on how he was able to do that and sell it. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope that's the case, because if it's the other way
Maybe.
around, that would be even worse. But either way, whether it was 5% sold or 51% sold, if nobody else was paid back, he needs to, after his current golden sale, whatever funds he gets, he needs to physically find those people and pay them back. That
That would be the right thing to do. I
would
know
be
at
right.
least 2 people that I know well have
Mhm.
not been paid, and their funds are completely locked down, so they aren't able to get that out of the website. So maybe, there's still 2 or 3, there's still like a month left in the auction, right, for the PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator. So he was saying that article, the previous article, that he's going to try to get everybody's funds back in 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll see if that actually happens or not.
Yeah. And I mean, if it's only $250,000, that's not a steep price for him to pay. I personally think, and from many sources, this card will go well over the 5.3 million. And I've talked to some people. A lot of people are thinking that because of the market and because of the historical significance, cultural significance of this card, they're willing to pay like anything under 7 million.
Wow.
That's I heard from multiple people. So
Yeah.
I do think it will go up. Like, I think the right thing to do is pay them out based on this, like, percentage of the card based on the current value, not what it was before, because there's an opportunity cost of these collectors carrying that over time. Like, even if you pay them back based on how much they put into the platform, they're still losing a lot of money that they would have made in other markets to put that
Right.
money in. And unfortunately, Logan is involved in multiple projects where he got screwed over by his partners. But even if you get screwed over by your partners, if you're one of the co-founding members, um, you're still like
Incentive.
vicariously responsible, in my opinion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because a
You
lot
got
of
to
people
take responsibility. Exactly.
wouldn't know, like we wouldn't know about Liquid Marketplace if it wasn't for Logan. And
Right.
I'm just gonna come out here and say it. Like I've said it privately, but I think Logan Paul is controversial, but he is a net positive for the Pokemon community. I know a lot of people agree with me, but if it wasn't him, there wouldn't be so many people coming back into the hobby. Whether it's for the right reasons or not, whether it's for the hype. But a lot of the people that came in through the Logan Paul hype were just reconnecting with their childhood. They remembered how much they love Pokemon cards and they stayed behind. And the hobby is now a lot bigger, partially due to Logan bringing so much attention to it. So I personally think, even though he screwed up in a lot of his projects, when I say screw up, I'm not saying he personally scammed people. We don't know that as a fact, but he's trusted the wrong
Exactly.
people. But I still think one of the coolest moments in like Pokemon history is him walking into the Mayweather fight with the BGS 10 first edition Charizard around his neck. I have to be honest, I actually watched that live with was it live? But I watched that whole thing with Gary the day before Pokemon
Oh,
Series 1,
really?
right? Remember? No, we were there. Well, there's documentary. We watched a documentary together with Gary. Yeah,
On the big screen, right?
on the big screen. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. I remember.
I was getting kind of emotional because I thought what he was doing was like every 90s kid's dream, like walking into the biggest battle of our lives with a Charizard around us. That's obviously in our dreams we would be riding Charizard, but that is just like the coolest thing a 90s kid ever did. Because I would dream about that moment when I was a kid, riding my Charizard into the biggest battle of my lives and of our lives. And he did that. So I personally think he genuinely loves Pokemon because he could be doing so many other things. But that doesn't excuse the fact that he co-founded this project that took advantage of his followers. And I'm not saying he did it purposely, but his partners did. And it is on him to make it right. And I hope if he gets his 7, 8, 10, $12 million sale from the golden auction that's coming up, You can reach out to those people outside of the platform personally and do what's right and pay back their shares.
Yeah, I think that's a really good solution, actually, reaching out to people who own the fraction of the card outside of the platform. Since all the funds are locked into the platform, you can still do the right thing by reaching out, and then make things right with those people.
Yeah, that's
We'll
right.
see if that happens. We'll see if that happens or not. But the
I hope
auction,
and I think
yeah,
he's fully capable of doing that. Whether it's like 250K, well, let's say it goes for 10 million. That means the 250K becomes 500K. I think that is, a small price to pay to clear his name and to,
right.
um, resolve him from responsibility of being part of this platform that lost a lot of people a lot of money. Well, not full responsibility, but at least for this card.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
that is the case, yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so far a lot of people, the shareholders are not happy at this moment,
Yeah.
knowing what's going on. But still, we don't know if he's going to make things right or not. So I'm going to just wait and see what he does before I be more critical of whatever the outcome is going to be. I'll have to see what he does.
Yeah. Sure.
And so you think the Pikachu Illustrator is going to go for at least 7?
From what I heard, people are thinking that if it's under 7, then it's a steal basically. So, and my understanding is more than 2 collectors have spoken to me and said they would buy it for under 7, and 2 people is all you need for the auction to go over
True.
that. Obviously, a
Okay.
lot of things could change, and one
Yes.
of those people might find their other grails and they might drop out, and it might end up flopping and be like 3 or 4 million. But I think the chances of that happening is relatively low. So I do think this will be a record-breaking sale that's gonna bring a lot of attention to the Pokemon hobby, whether it's positive or negative. But I really just like my focus is just on what Logan would do. Even though as an Illustrator owner, like you would think that I would want it to go higher to make my Illustrator higher, but I actually don't care because I'm not selling the card, and well, at least like I'm not looking to sell the card, and I don't care about the value of my
Yeah.
personal collection. But at the end of the day, it's all about the Logan making things right. I think at this point, I just think the higher the number is, the higher the percentage of him making things right. Because
Yeah.
if he sold the car for 8 figures, what's a couple $1,000,000 for him to make things right with people, right? So
Yeah. I've seen some story posts where people are offering $500,000 for like a PSA 7 Pikachu Illustrator due
yeah,
to this auction. So I think you're right. I think it probably is going to go above the original 5.275 because people are really wanting to own a copy in any grade.
I've been offered close to 7 figures US for my Tag 8 Illustrator already. So people are like hitting all the
They're
illustrators.
throwing offers every day, and
Yeah.
I've been hearing a lot about it. I
Yeah.
know Fanatics, they've sold numerous, or at least 2 or 3 PSA 9 Pikachu Illustrator for like close to $1 million, or
No, way
maybe
over $1 million. Well, Fanatics told me they sold PSA 9 probably for 1.5.
how much?
1.5 is what was being. Wait, let me read the text. Wait, I should probably not like show
That
the screen.
is
Let me see.
that
And
is
I know there was one that sold for 1.1, the NBA Gold Diamond by Pristine Collectibles, that was sold for 1.1. PSA 9. But I don't know if that was related to the Gold Diamond on top. That was like a few months ago. I heard from multiple sources that there's other PSA 9s that sold for 7 figures.
Yeah. I mean, do you think the trophy cards are all going to explode along with the hype of trophy Pikachu Illustrator being on the auction block with so much media attention and news coverage over the Logan Paul sale, upcoming auction sale?
I think so. And I don't think the Illustrator is undervalued at all because it's already being seen as a grail. But I do think a lot of the Pikachu trophies were undervalued for a long time because, like I said, the Pikachu, like the first, second, third tournament trophies, these are cards that are part of Pokemon history.
Yeah.
And even though like maybe the card itself and the artwork is not as iconic as the illustrator, but they are just as significant, if not more. And there is just as rare in terms of copies, if not more rare. And
Yeah.
those cards are being sold for like around 100 and something thousand to 200,000, depending on condition. Recently, it's gone slightly over, but they're still in the 200 to $300,000 range. So when that is half of a PSA 10 first edition Charizard, to me, I think they're slightly undervalued because we're talking about 10 or 15 copies of these cards from each tournament total. So I'm talking about absolute rarity being even more rare than the conditional rarity of the PSA 10s, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense that because the grades are not 9 or 10, they're going for like 150 or 200K. You know, it's to me that's being undervalued because that's a piece of Pokemon history.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy to think about, but I feel like a lot of average collectors are not going to be able to even afford any of the trophies.
Yeah. But average collectors aren't able to afford the first edition PSA 10 Charizard either. So
No.
we're not talking about average collectors here.
Yes.
But I do understand like the Gold Star Rayquaza and the first edition Charizard, they're like more iconic and they're more well known. So there's definitely more demand around it. But I just don't think when there's a card that has an absolute rarity of like 50 copies around the world and
Yeah.
there's a Pikachu on it and there's a piece of Pokemon history, it should be like half the price of another set card that's more popular. You know, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. It's just there's a very different group of collector. You can collect in many different ways, right? You don't have to collect or aim for the top of the top. You
Yeah.
can also collect modern cards as well, but something about modern, like the PSA 10 Moonbryon and the Burger Chew with a population of over 180,000
Oh my
and
god.
PSA 10s, these cards are just, they're just accessible to almost everyone, pretty
Yeah.
much. But so do you really want a card that everyone else have?
And the Van Gogh Pikachu.
Yeah, that too.
Remember when it was at its peak? I think it was like 2000 or something. I think we had a podcast. I
Yeah.
think it was either on an episode or we were talking in a group chat or something. And I said, if I could short the future market for that card, I would just throw all my money into it now because there is absolutely no way a card that was graded more than 100,000 times with one major grading company should be worth like $3,000. It just
Gosh,
it
yeah.
doesn't make no sense. Even though I love that card as well, I think it's like some of the coolest artwork. And a lot of people just keep using that excuse and it's like, yeah, well, what's 150,000 copies when there's like
Yeah, I remember that.
50 million Pokemon collectors. Well, you can just use that argument for everything. That's
Right.
certainly not true because there's only so many people that are buying it that can buy it to collect and hold in their collections. A lot of people are buying to kind of resell, and when you run
Yeah.
out of buyers, prices will tank because when us collectors, when we have one copy and then we have that card in our collection, we're not going to go out and buy like 10 other copies, you
No.
know.
Just need one.
Exactly. And there's not 50 million people that are going to have $2,000 cards in their collections. There just isn't, right? So eventually, those cards will run out of steam no matter how much hype is around it. Um,
Right.
so it's I'm glad that there's a lot of people that stuck to vintage slow pop grails.
Yeah.
Um,
Paid off.
yeah, and
Major.
I know these people are gonna say it, Jesse, is just like this old like millennial. It is
Oh my.
pro vintage and hate modern. I actually don't hate modern. A lot of my favorite cards are modern cards. I just don't like their prices. I just don't think they're
Yeah.
worth the prices during the hype. Yeah, like some of my favorite cards is Crown Zenith Suicune. I love that Suicune walking in like the Arctic, like dark night. It was so beautiful. It's such like a lonely, classy, like
I
Suicune
love that card too. Yeah.
card. I love the Phantasmal Flames Charizard. That's like probably one of the best artworks
Artwork.
in history. I think it's so beautiful. If that card was harder to pull, I think it should be the most valuable modern card. But fortunately, unfortunately, it's super easy to pull, and there's going to be like a population of, I don't know, like 30, 40,000 in either PSA tag or CGC 10s in the next 3-4 years. So I don't think that card is a great investment. None of these modern set cards are great investments in either PSA tag or CGC gem intents. I think you have to go for the pristines in order to make it investable, because
Long term.
populations for gem mint is going to be way too high. The gem rates are going to be too high for modern cards because they're printed a lot better, and people are going straight from pack to sleeve, unlike back in the day where all of our Watsu cards are put in our pockets. I still have a lot of pocket Watsu holos.
Oh my gosh.
None of them were close to even a 5 or 6. So yeah, we're talking about investments. Please do not invest in these modern set cards. Please don't.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, especially with Pokemon and Millennium Group opening up another facility in North Carolina, totaling over like 1.2 square feet. They're going to be printing to meet demand, or they're going to try to.
Yeah, and like we talked about before, there's a reason why there's like a delay when it comes to whether overprinting or underprinting, because the printers don't just get allocated to Pokemon like instantly when the demand is too high, because when they're not working, or when demand is not so high during 22 and 23, those printers were allocated to other TCGs, other companies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
The contracts are not like month to month. They're probably year to year, or maybe 2 years, 3 years. So it takes time before Pokemon can find printers to print to demand, and there's usually a delay of 6 to 12 months. And that's basically what happened in the 2016-17 craze. And you have like a lot of like Crimson Invasion that were printed, and I forgot what other sets, but there's like a few sets, early Sun and Moon, that were printed like crazy. And that's kind of like what happened during the 21 craziness, where like you had Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage that was printed like crazy, and Battle Styles, and it didn't recover and climb back beyond MSRP for like another 4 or 5 years after that. And I think the same thing is going to happen for the next few sets. And I talked about this before. I wouldn't invest in any modern like booster boxes that's past like Prismatic Evolution, I think, or Surging Sparks, because that's kind of like where the hype started, and there wasn't enough machines to print those sets. And I think they're going to crank it up and print what's after Surging Sparks. Surging Sparks, Journey Together,
Destin Rivals,
like
the Mega Evolution
Fantastic Flames, like all of these boxes will be printed, or maybe not all of them, but like a good percentage of these boxes will be printed. We don't know which ones are going to be printed. We don't know which ones are going to be the Vid Voltage, Darkness Blaze, and Battle Styles of this cycle, but I can bet my house that it's going to be one of those sets.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm not saying these sets are bad, because I think they're good, but there's an opportunity cost of buying them at this price and then holding them for 3-4 years when they're going to be around the same price, or a bit lower, a bit higher, when you can put your money into sets that are earlier, that have been out of print, out of the reprint cycle for a long time. And that's what we talk about. There's some investor channels that will come out and say, oh yeah, but you look at the dip, and then if you stay long enough, 5-6 years, you're going to go up. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's how it works.
Everything does go up.
Whereas, like, let's say there's $180 or $200 here, it's $200 in 3 years, and then it becomes like $1,000 if you can just buy it when it's outside of the reprint window. Like 3 years from now, you might as well do that, because in the 3 years you could have bought stuff that would have went up or not stay stagnant or go down, right? So there's
opportunity cost. So I feel like right now a lot of Pokemon investing content on YouTube feels very repetitive, right?
Exactly.
I guess there's a reason for that. A lot of people are coming to the same conclusion that to focus on Sword and Shield booster boxes and early Scarlet and Violet era boxes are going to rotate out.
Mhm.
Those would be the most logical moves, which I do agree with. But it's like the same concept over and over. It's Sword
Yeah,
and Shield are now going to be reprinted. Things
yeah.
that are going to rotate out is a pretty safe bet.
I honestly don't think they're wrong.
Yeah,
What
they're not
the
wrong.
problem that I have with other investment channels is they don't talk about selling enough. And it's always about holding
Mm,
what to buy. It's almost like if you talk about selling or creating like market panic, but if you only talk about buying, that's just building up hype and FOMO as well, right?
yeah, that's so
So
true.
it kind of like pains me to see a lot of these people that are like generally maybe like nice people that don't have like a background in investing and just like finance in general. Um, talk about it because they've done well and their Pokemon like collector portfolios went up a little bit, and then they're like, "Hey, let's talk about what to buy." But this doesn't involve just buying. It's not sustainable if you just keep spending your day job, like the money you make from your day job, into Pokemon collectibles, and then if you never sell and realize any of your gains, it is literally just boxes sitting in your storage, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
what they're saying is repetitive, but like not wrong. But
Right.
you need to talk about when you should be selling as well. Eh,
Yes. And I
That's
think one of the channels, Earn Collects, he is a content creator that I actually watch, and he talks a lot about selling.
that's good.
So I think that's a refreshing perspective. So you guys should go check him out.
Oh yeah, definitely check.
Um,
Earn collectibles.
Earn Collects.
Earn collects. Okay, I'll definitely
Yes.
check them out. Yeah, that's when I see a investment channel talking about both the buying and selling side, that makes me happy, and it shows me that this person actually has industry experience. And for the channels that only talk about buying and almost treat like selling as a taboo topic, I don't think they
Yeah,
have the community's best interest at heart.
I
Yeah,
agree. Yeah, you have to be a well-rounded investor and know how to buy and sell at the
yeah,
same time, so that way you can recoup some funds to gain new products and investments.
exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I talked about it multiple times. Even though I'm in a very fortunate financial situation, I wouldn't be able to afford like keep buying more expensive grails for my personal collection if I didn't sell part of my collection or investment portfolio to consolidate and buy more grails, because I can't just keep pulling out money from my real estate or other
Right.
investments or other income sources to keep buying more and more expensive cards. Like I don't have infinite money yet.
No,
So it helped me build our multi seven figure portfolio and investment now,
it's
and it
incredible.
helped a lot of people. And it's not done through me pulling out money. Like a lot of people think I just randomly get money from like somewhere and you just put into it and boom, like I have a lot of expensive cards. It pretty much all came from Pokemon, really. Like I just didn't post about it for years, right?
Yeah.
And I had cases of booster boxes saved up from every set, and obviously we have a good way to obtain them through CJ Shop, right? And
Yeah.
comes time, like we had 11, 12 cases of Evolving Skies, and we did sell a lot of them and bought a lot of them, and it just it's a never
Churn and
ending
burn.
cycle
Yeah.
that helps me with my collection journey. I don't think I put another dollar into it that's outside of Pokemon. It just kind of grew organically by itself. But I was not afraid to sell some of the stuff
Yeah.
that was in there. I'm not like I'm attached to all my graded cards that are my PC card, but
Okay.
I'm not attached to like the cases of booster boxes, which is why I
No.
actually enjoy doing that, because I'm not like looking at one of my Evolving Skies cases. I was like, I remember that time I bought this case with my wife or my dad or whatever. Like, I
It's just a brown cardboard box that
yeah,
is
exactly.
the
So
issue.
it's that part of like sealed investing is I feel like I'm like a graded collector and a
Yeah.
sealed investor.
Yeah.
I think that's the best balance.
That's a
You know,
pretty accurate description from what
you
I
know,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
All my graded cards, I have a memory of either pulling that card with CJ and my friends, or grading that card, or finding that card on eBay or through collectors and chasing after it. So I have like really fond memories, and I'm attached to all of them. So it's so hard for me to sell any of my PC graded cards, but it's the opposite for sealed products. So I love it. I love how I can just let some of it go and almost all of them for like a very significant profit and put that money towards this next grail that I really wanted.
That's awesome. That's the way to do it. I mean, I don't know how else the other people would afford super expensive slabs, vintage slabs that are hitting all-time highs. They must have other investment or something like what you're doing.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you have like a lot of money, like it's not responsible to keep putting your other investments or other income into just Pokemon cards. You know, we love this hobby and we do think it's gonna really grow, but it's really important to have a more diversified portfolio in terms of your investments. You know, so so I'm never gonna recommend someone to sell all their real estate and stocks to just put into Pokemon cards.
Yeah. And Poke Plumber does it opposite. He grades cards and sells the graded cards to get more sealed products
What?
for his display. He does the opposite of what you do. But he collects
that's
like
so interesting.
vintage sealed. He collects those high-end vintage.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. When it comes to vintage steel, I'm not talking about vintage sealed. Like I would be attached to a lot of my vintage sealed boxes too, but not with the mass printed modern stuff. You know.
Oh yeah, probably not as much as the modern stuff, but more of like the mid-era black and white mysterious treasure or stuff like that you don't really hear about that he's aiming towards through flipping graded cards.
I would say the only box that's in the modern era that I do have memories and attachment to is probably like our team up boxes, because I do remember buying them, and even though like we're pretty well off, but I remember like 4 years ago spending like $1,000 on a modern box is still like CJ and I was like, oh, should we do that? Like we bought like a lot of modern well, a lot of team up boxes and like Cosmic and stuff like for well over MSRP, even like in 21, 22, 23. So I do remember buying those and then we would stash them away. One of them, because team up specifically, because like one of CJ's favorite cards is the Lovebirds, just like everyone else before it was super expensive. And one of them was sitting like literally like over there for I think I don't know, like 4 years or something. And we and I remember wanting to open that box on my 30th birthday in 2023. And then CJ like literally said, "No, you can't open that." And then she gave me some Japanese 151. I'll never forget this. So I was like, and then I opened and I got some like Master Ball Rattatas. So I was always kind of choked because like CJ
will not let you open.
We're both like frugal people, and she's like, if you open that box and doesn't have a lovebird, it's gonna be like, oh, right. So we kept that box for a long time. But one of our friends came back that we haven't seen in like a while, and he really wanted to open a box, right? And he's like, "What's the next box you have?" Yeah, and then I was like, "Hey, CJ, like," and he also is a friend that invested in Tag recently, so we're actually business partners. So to celebrate, we're like, "Hey, he really wants to open a box and he wants to grade some cards with Tag. We have a team up box, like downstairs. Well, I mean, we have multiple. But CJ actually went and picked the box that we had next to our bed for like 5 years that we didn't open, and he opened it and pulled the lovebirds.
Oh my gosh! Did he grade it? Did it come back?
Yeah. Did you watch the video on CJ's channel? She actually posted the video.
Like I believe I did. Yes, that was it. That was the box that you're talking about.
That was the box. Yeah, she was crying because it also is like super emotional for her because she's desensitized just like I am for so many years, opening up so many packs. So it's not like as special. And I talk about this a lot. It's like I really miss those 2018, 19, 20 days when we were excited to open up a box and pull like a $7 card or like waiting for that $100 eBay package to come in. I'm not thinking about like this is going to be worth a lot of money. I just wanted my Suicune PSA 10 or whatever card that I was waiting for. And we missed those feelings. And CJ has probably lost her passion and just the excitement opening packs for the last 2-3 years because of having the shop and having access to so many boxes. But that was a special moment where we genuinely, everybody around us, like all our best friends, are opening the box together, and we just randomly was like, oh, let's pull up the live stream, let's do it on live, right?
I
And
actually
then
remember that now. Yeah.
started crying, and yeah, we were all in tears actually because we remembered how amazing it was to open boxes with friends. So that entire team. Oh,
Look, Alex is here. Just as we're talking about the lovebirds from Team Up. Isn't that crazy how he showed up?
Alex was summoned. I can't wait to see a Collectopia, and we have some Team Up for you to open with the Pocket Monster Pat. So
who's gonna pull the lovebird?
Alex can't escape the lovebirds. But yeah, we actually ended up grading all of them with tag, and it just came back. We opened it up yesterday, actually.
Oh wow, okay.
So that Team Up box was amazing. Not only did we pull the lovebirds, but we pulled the Gengar Mimikyu full art, not the all art, but the second biggest one, the full art, which is like still 13.
That's awesome.
USD.
Yeah.
And in PSA 10, we pulled the Pikachu Zekrom tag team. We pulled like it was pretty much the best Team Up box you can hope for, and it was sitting right next to our bed for 5 years. Unfortunately, all of them came back 8.5s because there was like a printing defect where every single right corner was cut kind of weird, and there was some whitening. And I personally, at the time, I was thinking like this is like a factory, so it shouldn't be counted as a defect. But the machine, basically tag had a different opinion, thinks that it was just cut enough for it to be a damage because there is whitening from the cut. It was cut not straight, right? So all of them graded tag 8.5s. That's super unfortunate. We opened it up with Jason yesterday, but he's not choked about it. I'm not choked about it. It was the memory of all the friends opening up the Team Up box together and pulling lovebirds. Like, how many people can say you opened up a Team Up box and pulled the Latios all art?
Yeah. Well, Team Up, our booster box last sold was like 10,000.
Yeah, exactly. And it was an extremely short printed set. I think we sold it to him for like 7,000 USD or something, like a significant discount because it was just kind of like our friends just opening it up. But it was just like the most amazing experience, and I won't trade it.
Incredible.
And even though like we're joking around, and I'm telling CJ like, hey, we should open it for my 30th birthday. That was like the perfect moment. I deserved it. And then she's like, but we had so much fun doing it with friends too. So it ended up working out well. That's what
the memory.
Yeah,
it's the memory that counts, and we're gonna create new memories in Collectopia when we open up more products together.
Yeah, that's right. Alex said, you summoned me. That is right. Oh, I didn't know this, but apparently if you start talking about lovebirds, Alex will show up. It's kind of scary.
That's so true. I mean, literally, it was kind of random, but and he showed up.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember during the live stream, when we were just randomly live streaming on CJ's Instagram, and when we pulled the lovebirds, it was just at Alex, and everyone just. I don't know if you saw the video, but when we opened up and pulled the lovebirds on screen, we said, "Sorry, Alex Ketchum." I just love this, and it's just like part of our own like inside joke, our big community Pokemon inside joke kind of thing. Like, you pull lovebirds, you think of Alex, and first of all, I would like to also thank Alex for inspiring so many creators in the space to post because that's such a hard thing to do. CJ and I are part-time creators, and we don't have time to create every day. I wish we could do it in the next few months. Hopefully we can hire someone to really take over the content side because we don't have the capacity to post daily, but I'm really thinking about it because of what Alex started. And then obviously Pat really went above
huge inspirations.
Yeah, so Alex is one of the GOATs. We're lucky to have you at Collectopia, and I can't wait for us to pull the lovebirds for the first time, with you. Again, we have some Team Up packs that we stashed away for a special occasion. And
I can't wait to witness
it. It will happen.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Your guys' content is fire, though. I really appreciate coming from you. Yeah.
Inept Collector says, "Good evening, y'all."
Good evening.
Do you
Yeah.
guys have any questions about Collectopia or TCG Hall of Fame, or just about the market in general before we sign off? We can take some questions. Jesse,
Yes.
what do you think? Do you have time for
Of course.
questions, possibly?
Well, yeah, we'll take a couple more questions and we'll hop off in like 10 minutes. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the criteria for the TCG Hall of Fame, why we created it today. And to summarize for those of you that weren't here earlier, is we wanted to pick people, and I'm quoting SM Pratt, that took want to be the very best way too literally and gotta catch them all way too seriously from way before collecting Pokemon cards were cool. In the 2010s, the late 2000s, and the people that not only have an incredible collection, but also people that have made a lasting impact on our community. So unfortunately, we had to turn away a lot of like people that I'm close to. Actually, I've had I think 7 people reach out to me and said that try and plead their case and tell me that they're part of like they think they should make the Hall of Fame, and I have to say. I think all of you guys I have tremendous amount of respect for, and I know you guys are on the way to make the Hall of Fame in 27 and beyond. But for the first inaugural Hall of Fame, we really want to keep it to the people that have been here for a long time, that have been collecting for a long time, that made an impact in the community, and that were collecting before it was cool. So it's really important for us to recognize those people, and the people that we talked about are Gary King Pokemon, the guy that started like PSA grading Pokemon cards, and we're here from 1999 and never left. Zach Genman Pokemon, like Rusty, TCA Gaming, SM Pratt, founder of Elite Four, all these guys that really, really built up our hobby from the ground up. Dubsy, Adam's High for Magic the Gathering. That's the answer. Alex's question is: a Pokemon specific or other card games get looped in collectibles category? So we actually have a crazier Magic the Gathering display than even Pokemon. I don't know if you were looking at the TCG museum post, but we have 10 Alpha Black Lotuses, including the only Beckett Pristine 10 in the world, including one of the only 2 CGC Pristine 10s in the world, one of the only 4 PSA 10s, Alpha Black Lotuses in the world, a full BGS Pristine 10 Alpha Black, Alpha Power 9 set. Oh, actually, 2 of them are 9.5 Quad Plus Pluses, but the highest graded card in each card for the Alpha Power 9. And we also have the original Black Lotus art from Christopher Rush himself being displayed. To me, that's probably the most expensive piece in the museum. I've heard someone say they'd snap by it for $10 million if it was available. And I don't doubt it, because that is the original art. Think about it. That is the art being used for the famous Black Lotus card. This actually made me want to actually go out and search for the original art for the illustrator or the base set Charizard. I heard someone in the US has the base set Charizard that he purchased for like 300K years ago. I think it's at least 10x since then. So it makes me want to collect the art pieces that are so significant in our hobby, and I can't wait to share all of this with our community. It's super nerve-wracking handling so many expensive collectibles.
Yeah.
But yeah, it extends beyond Pokemon. Pokemon is definitely the number 1 class in TCG, but Magic the Gathering is the original TCG that inspired Pokemon. So we have a huge Magic the Gathering display, huge Yu-Gi-Oh display. There's going to be representation from other TCG at the museum, like Dragon Ball and One Piece, and also sorcery. One of our Hall of Famers, Eric Olofsson, one of the co-founders of the Path of Exile game, is actually one of the biggest Magic collectors and the owner of the original Black Lotus art. He will be bringing some collectibles from his own TCG sorcery as well. So we have founders of TCGs that are being recognized and celebrated at Collectopia and the TCG Hall of Fame. So yeah, it's going to be so exciting, and it's literally I've never been more excited and nervous for an event in history. And
Nervous and
right
excited.
now writing my Hall of Fame opening speech, and every time I write it, like I write a couple lines, I kind of tear up a little bit because it means so much to me. But I'm someone that doesn't get nervous speaking publicly ever. It's just like part of my personality and one of my gifts. But I'm kind of nervous for this one because I really don't want to screw this up. And I think it means so much for our community and for the legends that we're recognizing, that I just want to make sure that it's the best event that can be. And we're super excited. For those of you that can't be here, and card collectors that I won, I can't go because of my army duties. It really sucks. Thank you for your service. But it's we're gonna have a lot of content around it, so you're gonna be seeing it on social media, on websites. We have a magazine that's coming out, so you're gonna be seeing tons of it. We're gonna live stream the Hall of Fame ceremony event as well.
Oh, that's what I wanted to know. You're gonna live stream it for all the audience and viewers.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
see. So we're gonna make sure that we can bring the content to you guys for those of you that can't make it. And it's gonna be an annual event. So every year we're gonna have an induction ceremony. So it's not gonna. So you're gonna have an opportunity to come and witness for the next one as well. Yeah,
That's incredible. You're probably gonna have tons of security guards there, right? Right around all the
tons of security guards, and honestly, it's yeah. I don't know if you can get too many, but we're gonna have at least a team of 20 security people around the venue, and we're gonna designate at least half of them in the museum, and we're gonna have armed police as well, and we're gonna be, obviously any type of transportation is gonna be accompanied by the security and the police because of the collectibles. And Vancouver is a very safe city. It's not as bad as like some of the major American cities, but still, it's better to be safe than sorry. And we're gonna do everything we can to protect these pieces of history.
Yeah, that's awesome. Amazing to hear.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He won the IG contest. One Canadian friend to go in my spot. Need to DM. Yeah, that's amazing. So CJ and Collectopia is running like a daily giveaway leading up.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible too. Like, how is she doing it every single day? That's just.
Well, I mean, we recorded for like 8 hours total opening packs.
Okay.
And yeah, we're just
I kind of figured
daily. Yeah, so it's not like every day we're recording a new one.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to Oliver. Can't wait to hear his experience. And after I can run security. All of us can be security, and I'll protect it with my life. So it's not just about like value, but these are pieces of history for
absolutely. I've been just hearing so many things about robbery, break-ins, and it's good that you have a team of security and armed police officers there, so everyone can feel safer.
Exactly. And you can't be too safe in this scenario. So, it's don't try anything stupid because
you're gonna get locked up.
Get you down.
You're gonna be all over social media.
No, don't try anything stupid. Don't have any crazy ideas here. Not just the armed police and security. I personally will take you down.
Oh my gosh.
I will protect it with my life. Yes.
Totally fair. All right. Well, I think that's it for questions. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining. If you enjoyed this conversation, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification for next time so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks, everyone, for spending your time with us, and we'll see you on the next episode of this podcast.
All right. Thank you very much, and hope to see you guys at Collectopia and the TCG Hall of Fame. If not, then pay attention to our channels, and we'll be posting a lot of content and live streaming the event. So super excited to see all of you.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
Bye.